Your new Z Fold 8 folds in half, but most car mounts on the market weren't built for that crease, and one wrong grip point can warp the hinge over time. Cameras don't lie, so we tested the ones that actually hold up. We're not ranking these by star count. We're ranking them by whether the clamp actually lands on the frame instead of the seam, because every single mount in this list was designed and listed before the Z Fold 8 existed, which means none of them say Z Fold 8 anywhere on the packaging. So today we're checking the math ourselves. Does the opening range, the arm reach, and the clamp geometry actually work for a phone that measures 123.9 millimeters tall and roughly 9 millimeters thick when folded, whichever Fold 8 you've got? Let's start with the one you should think twice about. 5. JDHDL wireless car charger mount. Auto clamping, 15 watts, dual coil, one touch, 90 degrees, rotatable. This one leads with convenience. It's an auto clamping mount. Press a button, the arms snap open on their own, drop the phone in, they close around it. It runs 15-watt dual-coil wireless charging, rotates 90 degrees for landscape or portrait, and the listing includes the car charger itself, so you're not hunting for a separate 12-volt adapter. On paper, it's the set-it-and-forget-it option. And for a Fold 4 or Fold 5 owner, it's genuinely one of the more convenient mounts out there. Here's where it gets complicated for a Fold 8 owner specifically. The listing's compatibility list stops at Galaxy Z Fold 7 down through Fold 2. There's no Fold 8 mentioned anywhere, which makes sense since the mount predates the phone's July 22nd launch. That's not automatically disqualifying. The folded footprint of the Fold 8 line is close enough to older folds that the clamp should physically open wide enough. But auto clamp mounts grip wherever the sensor tells them to close. And if that landing point sits anywhere near the hinge seam instead of the rigid frame edge, you're putting sustained pinch pressure on the one part of the phone Samsung engineered to flex, not to be squeezed. Verdict: it's the most convenient mount here, and it's not a bad pick if you already own it for an older fold. But for a brand new Fold 8, you're relying on the clamp finding the frame on its own with a phone the manufacturer never tested it against. That's the trade-off that puts it at the bottom of this list. If auto clamping worries you because you don't want anything squeezing the phone automatically, the next mount skips the sensor entirely and uses gravity instead. You control exactly where the pressure lands. 4. Xuenair car mount for Z Fold, aluminum gravity clamp. This mount uses a gravity lock design instead of a motorized clamp. You set the phone into the cradle, and the phone's own weight, the listing specifies, it works in roughly the 180 to 300 gram range, pulls the arm down to lock it in place. No button, no auto-close guessing where to land. The build is CNC anodized aviation aluminum, rather than the ABS plastic most budget mounts use. And the listing specifically calls out thick case friendly, with widened arm slots so you're not forced to run the phone naked to get it to fit. It supports devices up to 12.9 inches, which covers the Fold 8's unfolded footprint if you ever want to mount it open for video calls. The catch is precision. Gravity lock mounts only clamp as tightly as the weight you set into them. A Fold 8 weighing around 201 grams sits comfortably in that range. But because you're the one placing the phone into the cradle by hand, you decide where the arm makes contact, unlike the auto clamp mount we just covered. That's an advantage for avoiding the hinge, but it does mean you have to be deliberate about it every time you dock the phone, rather than trusting a sensor. The listing also notes the mount only supports unfold and vertical placement, and to avoid particularly bumpy roads. Worth knowing if your commute involves rough pavement, since a gravity-based grip has less mechanical clamping force behind it than a spring-loaded or motorized clamp. Verdict: this is the pick for anyone who wants manual control over exactly where the mount grips the phone. It puts you in charge of avoiding the hinge instead of trusting automation. And the aluminum build feels more durable long-term than the plastic clamp housing on most competitors. Just don't expect it to be the steadiest option on a rough road. 3. Kolasels tablet holder mount for car, anti-shake dashboard / windshield / sunroof stand. Kolasels built this one for tablets first, which matters more than it sounds like for a book-style foldable. It's a heavy-duty metal stand rated for devices from 4 to 12.9 inches, mounts to your dashboard, windshield, or sunroof, and is marketed specifically with an anti-shake arm, meaning the engineering priority is holding a wide, heavier device steady, not just gripping a slim phone. Because it's built to handle iPads and Galaxy tabs at the large end of that range, a Fold 8 sitting near the middle of that spec window isn't pushing the mount anywhere close to its limits, which matters when you're mounting the phone unfolded for navigation or video calls. The honest catch: this is a tablet mount wearing a phone mount hat. The cradle and arm are sized for bigger devices, so when you fold the phone back down to its compact, roughly 82mm wide footprint, you're using a fraction of the holder's actual clamping range. It'll work, but it's not purpose-built for a folded phone the way a dedicated phone clamp is. You're also dealing with a longer mounting arm designed to reach dashboard or sunroof mounting points, which means more length flexing between the windshield and the phone versus a shorter, stiffer mount. More arm length generally means a little more sway over bumps, even with the anti-shake branding. Verdict: if you mainly want the Fold 8 mounted unfolded for maps, video calls, or watching something at a red light, this is the strongest pick on the list for that specific use case, because it was engineered for exactly that screen size. If you're mounting it folded most of the time, you're paying for tablet-grade hardware you don't need. Every mount so far clips or clamps onto something rigid: the vent, the dash, the arm. The next one skips all of that and grabs the windshield glass directly, which changes the whole stability equation. 2. Woleyi windshield car tablet mount, long arm gooseneck suction cup. This is a suction cup windshield mount with an 11.8-inch total arm length and roughly 8.27 inches of flexible gooseneck, which puts the phone right at eye level instead of down at dash height. The suction base uses a 2-layer TPU design specifically to keep air from leaking into the seal over time. That's the actual mechanism, not just a strong suction claim, and it's paired with a built-in stabilizer in the arm meant to cut down vibration transfer from the windshield into the cradle. The cradle itself has a curved, rubber-lined grip rated for 4 to 13-inch devices, which comfortably covers the Fold 8 whether it's folded or unfolded in the holder. The catch here is arm length working against you. An 11.8-inch gooseneck gives you a lot of positioning freedom, but every extra inch of arm is another inch that can flex and bounce on rough roads. That's just leverage physics, not a manufacturing flaw. A short vent clip barely moves because there's nothing for it to flex. A foot-long windshield arm holding a 201-gram-plus phone has real leverage working against the suction base, especially if you're using it in landscape with the phone unfolded, which puts more weight further from the pivot point. Verdict: for reach and viewing angle, this is hard to beat. You can position the phone almost anywhere in your sightline. Just know you're trading some rigidity for that flexibility, and it needs real glass to grip, not a textured dash. We've covered gravity locks, tablet-grade cradles, and windshield suction. Every mechanical way to hold the phone still. The last pick is back to auto-clamping and wireless charging, but it fixes the one thing that put our first pick at the bottom of this list. 1. DearHot 15-watt Qi wireless car charger mount, auto clamp. This is the same core concept as our 5th place pick. Auto-clamping arms, 15-watt Qi standard wireless charging. But DearHot's listing explicitly names Galaxy Z Fold 7, Fold 6, Fold 5, Fold 4, Fold 3, and Fold 2, and rates the cradle for a 4.3 to 6.9-inch folded width. That range matters. The Fold 8's folded width sits comfortably inside that window regardless of which Fold 8 variant you're running. So this is the auto clamp option that's least likely to fight you on opening width, even though, like every mount on this list, it doesn't say Fold 8 by name yet. The charging is standard Qi, meaning it isn't locked to one phone brand's proprietary coil mapping, which gives it a better shot at finding your charging point without perfect alignment. The honest catch is the same one every auto clamp mount shares. You don't get to choose exactly where the arms land when they close. Even with a wider rated opening, the clamp mechanism is closing based on sensed width, not on avoiding the hinge seam specifically. So if you're someone who wants full manual control over clamp placement, the gravity lock pick 2 spots back still gives you more say in the matter. Verdict: between the wider rated compatibility window, the standard Qi charging, and the fact that it's the only mount here explicitly built and marketed around the Fold's folded dimensions rather than treating it as an afterthought, this is the strongest all-around pick for a Fold 8 owner who wants charging and hands-free mounting in one unit. If you're mounting the phone unfolded most of the time, maps, calls, video, go with the Kolasels tablet-grade stand. It's built for that screen size specifically. If you want maximum reach and the ability to position the phone anywhere in your sightline, the woleyi windshield gooseneck gets you there, as long as you've got clean glass to stick it to. If you'd rather control exactly where the clamp grips the phone yourself instead of trusting a sensor, the xuenair gravity mount puts you in charge of that. And if you want wireless charging with the least guesswork on fit for a Fold 8 specifically, the DearHot auto clamp is the one built around that folded width range. None of these say Z Fold 8 on the box yet. That's just where the market is a week after launch. Check the dimensions in the description below against your specific Fold 8 before you buy, and drop a comment if you've actually mounted yours in one of these. We'll update this list once real Fold 8 fit reports start coming in.